And welcome to episode 56 of the TechnoBuffalo Show. I'm one of your two hosts for today, Sean Ani, editor-in-chief of the site, and I'm joined by Deputy Managing Editor Todd Hazelton.
Hey, everybody.
How are you doing this week, Todd?
I'm good. It's a good week.
You ready for next week?
Yeah, next week's a crazy week.
Yes. For those that don't know, we've got the OnePlus announcement on Monday, then Motorola on Tuesday, and then Nokia is doing something on Wednesday.
Yeah, it sounds like that'll be VR related, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's not where I saw Nokia going, but it seems like everyone's releasing a VR headset.
Yeah, and I saw that they had been, I guess, for many years now, somebody on Twitter said this, had been researching sort of VR stuff. So while it came as a surprise to me, I guess some people have been following Nokia more closely. Aren't that surprised?
Well, I'm here to announce that next week I'll be announcing the Seantronic VR headset. I mean, hey, since everybody else is doing it, why not?
Yeah, why not?
So, a couple things to go over this week. First off, glad we drive older cars.
Yeah, seriously, we both drive old trucks, and following news that yesterday that a Jeep Cherokee was hacked. Something's ringing. I don't know what it is, so bear with me. That a Jeep Cherokee was hacked by these hackers, and this Wired article covers exactly how it went, and I want to read this for everybody listening. Here we go. Though I hadn't touched the dashboard, the vents in the Jeep Cherokee started blasting cold air at the maximum setting, chilling the sweat on my back through the in-seat climate control system. Next, the radio switched to the local hip-hop station and began blaring Skilo at full volume. I spun the control knob left and hit the power button, to no avail. Then the windshield wipers turned on and wiper fluid blurred the glass. That's in addition to the hackers being able to slow down the car, kill the transmission, all kinds of stuff. And the craziest and scariest thing is that he couldn't control anything. So, like, while the air was turned on, he couldn't turn it off, and while the transmission was killed, he had no control of the car. That's terrifying to me.
The one thing they didn't address, that car belongs to those two hackers. Do they have to, at any point, get physical access to the vehicle to initiate the hack?
Yeah, good point. It didn't sound like it because they said sitting at a laptop across the country, but that's a good point. Maybe they had to first get something in there, and I don't know if I caught that answer either.
Yeah, I don't know. I just noticed my poor Android figure is laying on his back. He apparently is taking a nap.
But it gets scary. I mean, like, if I can just go in, like, he's sitting on the highway. When everything, like, they tell him, they say get on the highway, and whatever you do, don't panic. And he sees, like, everything's killed out, steering, brakes, transmission, and he sees a semi truck coming up from behind him. That to me is like what do you do? And I never really thought about it with these connected cars. I always thought it was connected in the sense that, sure, there's this LTE connection, but it's oftentimes provided by AT&T or Verizon, and yeah, there's Bluetooth, but that's direct. It's within 30 feet usually, to your phone. Like, I didn't see this as like a huge problem. I always thought connected cars were sort of more convenient and not something that hackers could get to. And it's particularly scary when you think about cars that I've tested, coming up, like Volvo has them and stuff like that, where they can pretty much drive themselves. So, while his transmission's out and stuff like that, it sounds like from this article he mostly had control of the steering so he could at least get off the highway. But these other smart cars, the steering's controlled by the car. So wouldn't the hackers have access to that too?
Yeah, they would. And to be clear for everyone, these were white hat hackers. They have alerted Jeep to this security flaw. Jeep is issuing a firmware update, and they will not be releasing how they did it until next month at a hacker convention. So they have followed proper procedure, and Jeep was the first people they alerted.
Yeah, and I think they did this. I mean, they asked the Wired guy to, like, come drive in the car so he can show you it. Oh, and the one thing that I thought was crazy too, and this is terrifying, they brought up an image, like a video feed of themselves, I guess, on the in-car system while they were hacking it. So, like, he sees these hackers. I guess they were dressed up in jumpsuits. Like, that's terrifying. Yeah. You get, like, a Joker come on and your steering goes out, and off the road you go.
If this did not require physical access to the vehicle, which we do not know, this is terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, because somebody's going to release a kit that anyone can follow and do it. And you could end up, politicians could be taken out. Somebody that you owe money to, somebody that feels you stole their girlfriend or boyfriend. I mean,
someone trying to play a prank.
Revenge porn is going to seem, quaint compared to if this gets out in the wild.
Yeah.
And that's horrifying. I mean, I'm sure, car companies are not software companies. I am sure there was nobody going, has anyone thought about the possibility of this being hacked? It's a car. It'll never be hacked. I hope every car company is now looking at their vehicles.
Yeah, I hope so too.
They even showed they could lock the doors. Now, of course, he could have manually unlocked. But, suppose that there is some sort, there's all sort, whenever I go out to Irvine, I end up renting whatever vehicles available. So I end up in a lot of different vehicles.
Mustang last time.
Yeah, Mustang last time. Thank you to the nice clerk that gave that to me. So, there's a lot of different locking systems out there. Some of them, it's not obvious how you can unlock them if you were to lose control of that button.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine you get locked in the car and they decide to drive you into a lake.
Yeah, that too. I mean, and the scary thing is, like, even just the windshield wipers, like blasting the windshield wiper fluid up on your windshield. Like, I mean, you can't see anything. If you're going 70 miles an hour on the highway, that's going to cause an accident.
Or they could,
especially when they take your brakes.
They could also make it so your windshield wipers don't turn on in a bad rainstorm.
Yeah, all kinds of.
Yeah, there's all sorts of ways. And talk about a blackmail possibility. I'll let you drive your car again with you in it.
Yeah.
When you give me your PIN number.
Yeah.
Yeah, scares me like crazy.
Yep.
And Sachin Bahal asks, should we be scared that there are cars that could be hacked? Yes, I think you should be scared.
It seems like it.
Hopefully, like I said, I'm hopeful that every car company with a connected system is currently looking at their systems, and trying to fix any security holes and so on. But for right now, I'll gladly keep driving my 99 Tahoe, which is as dumb as a car comes.
Yeah, right.
Just
I
so
have a
long.
tape deck.
Yeah, I have a tape deck. And a CD player. I mean, we were cutting edge.
Wow. Mine doesn't even have that.
Although I typically use I use a tape deck adapter to play, iPod. Oh, yeah, speaking of iPod, my iPod came back to life.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
No, I plugged it in to sync it one last time with how little juice was left, and all of a sudden it started charging. So I still think it's on its deathbed. Yeah. Every week there has to be one point where I can't talk, but
it's alive for now.
It's alive for now.
Unlike that Android figure behind you, who looks dead.
Yeah, I know. I didn't realize he fell over. Yeah. So moving on to our second topic, Apple earnings. And while we're talking about Apple, I'm going to resurrect poor Android guy here. So Apple earnings. Okay, I'm getting really, really tired of all these, and I'm using air quotes, they only sold, X million of this device. It's obvious that it's died. Folks, any company that can sell millions of any product, it's really hard to say that's a dying product.
Yeah, unless they're not making any money off of it, which isn't true for any of those products.
Right.
And that's sort of how Apple makes its money, because it makes a lot of money off of each product sold, margins.
So you look at the U.S. and we have somewhere around over 300 million people in the country. Mm-hmm. So let's say you sell 3 million of a product. That means you've reached 1% of the country in a quarter.
Yeah.
And that's bad news.
Yeah, and we're talking about the Apple Watch here, where sales estimates, depending on who you talk to, what analyst you're looking at, were like between 2 to 4 million units. But based on what we say, about a little over $1 billion, it looks like that segment made. So then you'd have to figure out the average selling price between $350 and $17,000, depending on the watch model sold. So you have to figure it's probably around $500 because a lot of them are sport models. So using that math, I think people were coming in close to about 3 million units sold, which seems pretty good. And one of the points I brought up in an article on the site yesterday where I said the Apple Watch is a success, even though I hate the apps on it. I think there's a lot of terrible things about it still. The sales figures seem to me to show a success. Because you have to remember that Apple's going to make money off of app sales and stuff like that, especially with watchOS 2. I mean, that's a billion-dollar, tens of billion-dollar market for Apple, the iTunes App Store, in general. So I think there's additional revenue from that coming in this fall. And then this is just an early first one-off product. Or it's not one-off, but the very first product. We're going to see more, I think, an Apple Watch 2, and it's still outsold. During the same time period, the very first iPhone and the very first iPad, Tim Cook said. So I think, it sounds like it's doing just fine. We'll see. Yeah. And I think unlike the iPad, at least where we've sort of come in this point now, and there were like 10.9 million iPads sold, and people are still saying the iPad's doomed. Because, look, sales are down, that makes sense, and there's not a reason to upgrade. So I think with the Apple Watch, though, they'll probably make it easier, like more reasons to upgrade as they add in additional sensors and capabilities for the apps you can do on it and stuff like that. And meanwhile, the iPad sales at 10.9, slightly missed. I think analysts were looking for like 11.1 million sales. iPhones also missed at, I think they were around 47. Analysts were looking for, I think 50 was the number, 50 million. And you think 47 million or whatever it was phones in a quarter is incredible.
In a non-release quarter.
Yeah. But they're looking for growth in places like China, where I think we can see that was pretty clear. Well, Tim Cook said that it was doing well, but also they said they had the most switchers from Android ever. And I think when you look at the United States, the two are battling. Sure, there's going to be switching back and forth, but in China, I think it's been primarily an Android market thanks to all the low-cost players there. So I think that's where we're seeing probably a lot of the switchers.
Well, again, these analysts sit around, and before the numbers come out, it's almost like playing fantasy football. They sit around and they go, well, I think this is how many they sold. Oh, you didn't reach the arbitrary number I set, so you did bad.
Well, in general, when you see, it's a consensus among Wall Street, so you have, the super bullish guys and the super bearish guys that are saying, Apple didn't sell any iPhones. So it's kind of like a middle range number. And I think the real bulls are the ones that are just looking for China for huge expansion in other places.
Yeah,
where 3 million units goes quick. It's a huge market.
When I used to very, very lightly dabble in the stock market, which, just to be clear and for full disclosure, I currently own no shares of any companies. Despite what you all may think about me and Apple or me and Google, I do not own shares of either company. But for instance, I had Walmart stock way back when, and I always loved, when the quarterly reports would come out and they go, well, they showed growth, but it's slowing. There's only so many places you can put a Walmart, folks. There's only so many people in the country. At some point, growth will stop.
Yeah, and so they have to find other ways to offset that.
Exactly. Exactly. But it just... it's enough to drive you nuts at times, but well, we've got some questions coming in on our various subjects here. From Sachin Bahal, the Jeep that was hacked and remotely controlled, was it connected to the internet or was it hacked another way? It was connected to the internet through the entertainment system, which apparently that gave them access to all the engine controls and dash controls, which more than likely, my folks have, I forget what year it is, but a Suburban with OnStar in it. And, OnStar is able to call them and go, hey, your left front tire pressure is out of whack. So there's sensors all over your car, and if you do have any sort of connection, then yes, it's transmitting this data, which means it has access to those systems.
Yeah, I'm going through it again now. They went through the Uconnect cellular connection, I guess, and then changed the car's firmware. rewriting the chip's firmware to plant their code. So that's how they did it, which is pretty wild.
From Brazen Franco, but why does a car access to the internet, even mobile plane? That's a great question, and it's because people have, what I love is where you keep fighting against distracted driving, and the more I get in these cars, the more I feel like I'm getting in the cockpit of a spaceship.
Yeah.
My Mustang had more buttons on the steering wheel than I have ever seen in my life.
Thingamabobs.
Yeah. And, as I'm driving, I'm like, yeah, maybe if I drove this for a month, 2 months, I would learn, where's the volume control. But in this little bit of time, I kept going, wait, I better watch the road.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I find it interesting that we keep putting more stuff into cars.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't think cars need a entertainment hub.
Yeah, and to answer Bressen's question there, why do they have internet plans? I think a lot of them do, so you can offer a hotspot so your passengers connect, or you have Spotify or Pandora in the dashboard, or you want traffic, or to search for points of interest like a nearby gas station, stuff like that. Also, if you can do with your phone, but it's just built into the car's entertainment system, and then the carriers, get you on their plans, or you pay for it when you get the car.
Yeah. Because that's all I need in my life is yet another cellular plan.
Yeah.
Because I don't have enough. From Sean the Man 34, do you see a lot of Apple Watches in the wild? Interesting note, I see Apple Watches on a lot of older individuals, 65 plus.
Really?
Sean, have you been IDing these people? Maybe they aren't that old. I think you're being a little rough on them.
I've seen like 3 or 4 in the wild already. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a few in the wild, especially like when I was in airports. I saw 1 or 2 at Comic-Con, walking around. So yeah, they're out there. It's not like I see them every day.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's an interesting note. I find that interesting that you're seeing it on older people. That's something I've wondered about, because like my father is a complete technophobe. His first smartphone has arrived. I did not let him take it on this road trip because I need to set it up and I needed time to actually sit down and teach him.
What did he go with?
We got him a refurbished iPhone 5S.
Okay. Nice.
And we got him a big heavy duty case because my father drops things like crazy. But this will be his first foray into smartphones. So everyone wish me luck trying to teach him that. But most people in his age range, which he's 60, he'll be 69 this year. Most people in his age range are, technology, I don't understand it. So I'm going to be curious. I would love to see a breakdown of the demographics of who's buying Apple Watches.
Yeah, me too. I would guess they skew younger. That's just, I don't know.
That would be my guess too. But, we have at least some anecdotal evidence of it going to older folks. So that's interesting. From Brazen Franco, what have you returned this week, Todd?
Nothing, and I still have my Kindle Paperwhite, which I'm loving, which would probably have been the gadget that I returned. Yeah. I finished 1 book. I'm on the second one. I like it a lot.
You're letting us down, Todd.
I know. I got to start returning stuff. I'm letting my wife down. She'll be like, "What? Return that."
Well, how about for next week you just go buy something and just to return it?
Yeah, just to return it. Well, that was my kind of plan with that thing. Was like, maybe I won't like it and I'll return it, but I love it. So.
From Matt Tanucci, hope I pronounced that correctly. Do either of you who have used the Galaxy S6 over a longer period of time, have you started to have any of the issues that apparently plague the phone, i.e. RAM management, TouchWiz slowing down, etc.? I have actually not even, I take that back. I think I held an S6 for like 2 minutes. Have you heard of any?
No, I haven't. Well, I don't use TouchWiz after the review period. I put on I use Apex launcher, but a lot of other people like other launchers. And that's just fine. I know in other Galaxy devices they seem to slow down over time. But one of the things that I know has sort of been a complaint was just in general, Android 5.0.x had RAM management issues and stuff like that. So I know AT&T, I think all of the carriers actually have updated to Android 5.1 Lollipop, so that should address a lot of it. But I haven't really noticed that. My biggest complaint with that phone remains the battery life, and to such a degree that I don't really like using it as a daily driver because you got to keep it charged.
I had a question for you, Todd. Mm-hmm. I saved this up for the podcast. So we're hearing these rumors about Samsung and Sony both having events in August as opposed to at IFA like they normally do.
Yeah.
Do you remember back when CES had a lot of phone announcements and everyone moved away from that to their own events to mimic Apple? Well, for whatever reason, people started moving into IFA. Do you think we're seeing another mass exodus from a trade show to individual events? It's starting
to look like that because we saw, like you said, there was a move. I mean, carriers used to have their announcements at CES and everything, and then that, everybody broke away from that, and then we started to see IFA got super busy. Like last year was the busiest ever. Everybody had something there. So it was nuts, and now it sounds like, like you said, Samsung might have something, maybe Sony earlier, Motorola's next week. It's good news for us. It gives us a little breathing time. We don't have one event where we're going crazy, but I think it's bad news for IFA where all of a sudden, the trade show itself, where maybe there's not as much importance put on it. And I'll be interested to see how that, what happens in February, too, with Mobile World Congress. Because these are big shows, but people aren't going to go if there aren't big announcements. At least the press. Like, the reason the press go to these shows is because we're there for the big announcements, but if there aren't any announcements, then what do you do? And I remember a couple years ago I used to go, and I think fans who have been reading, I guess, for a long time, Garmin Nuvi phone was a device, I think, that was announced. But otherwise I would go for, like, the first Galaxy Tab. I think that was, like, the only product announced. So we saw, like, this huge, run up into last year, and maybe people are backing away, which I think it's probably smart of Samsung to have this phone, get it on the market, get people hyped about it, and then the iPhones can come out versus, and people can start buying it, versus last year or a couple years ago where they sort of come out at the same time, and then people were like, oh, like which one do I pick?
The thing is, though, if Samsung moves the Note 5 and the Note Edge Plus shiny version, whatever the full name is, if they move those out to August, which would be an obvious move to try to beat the iPhone.
Right.
Do you really think someone that's interested in the iPhone is going to go, oh, I got to wait another month for the iPhone, but this one's here now?
No, I don't think so. But I think maybe they just want as much press coverage and all that kind of stuff leading up into it. All their marketing, all kinds of whatevers. It reminds me of, I keep thinking, remember, I don't know, I think you'll remember this. When I was on my honeymoon, people were like, are you ready to go back or whatever? And I was like, yeah, because the iPhone and the Note, I guess at the time the Note 3 had both hit the market, and I was super excited to go play with them, at the same time. And now we'll have a little spacing. But I don't know. I think gadget enthusiasts like all of us here are the ones that would be like, oh, well, maybe I'll go with that or the other. I mean, people that aren't hardcore Android or hardcore iOS.
Right. No, of course. I mean, if you're a hardcore enthusiast, then you're going to go with whatever. It's not based on timing. That's for sure.
Right.
But I find it interesting that we're now hearing these rumors of Sony phones also in August.
Yeah, well, Sony's got a difficult battle ahead. I think the Xperia Z4, for example, was hardly a flagship. The Z4V for Verizon finally adds the Quad HD display. That, I think, is a comparable flagship, but they really need to get out there and in front of everybody somehow. So I would just say the sooner the better. Maybe that's why they're doing it.
Well, what got me about the Xperia rumor was, Sony's been saying, oh, we're going to try to focus our mobile division to try to make it profitable and all that. And we get a rumor in one day of 4 new Xperia phones.
Yeah. I mean, we've heard that before from Samsung and the likes. Like, oh, we're going to narrow down. And instead of releasing 100 phones, they release 99.
Yeah. I don't understand what's going on, but yeah, I'm going to be really interested to see what happens with Mobile World Congress. If the phone companies are starting to move away from the trade shows, we might see Mobile World Congress take the next hit.
Yeah.
From D. Norbert, what do you think about IoT, Internet of Things? As we are more and more connected, data mining is kind of scary, and hacking too. The other thing that concerns me is somebody who tests a lot of Internet of Things. I am currently fighting a battle of trying to keep myself under my data cap.
Yeah.
I actually am trying to go. I'm the only one home for like a week. I'm trying to use like no internet for a week at my house so that I have a built up surplus when they do return. Yeah, as for data, see, I don't get as worked up about data mining as a lot of people. The main reason being, I'm at the age where I know my data has been collected. If you ever Google my name, enjoy the pages and pages and pages of data on me. My father, for some reason, is just flabbergasted, and whatever he tells, he talks to somebody like an old friend or whatever. If you Google Sean, there's like 250,000 results on him. I don't know why this fascinates him, but it does. There's so much data out there on me that I don't care. There's nothing exciting about me.
Yeah, but I think the thing that is like, Google or Apple, and Apple always says like we're not collecting that data. I don't know. But when they start to say like, we know we know how you like your house, like the temperature, and we know what time you go to bed because your lights go off and stuff like that. Like, isn't that kind of scary? And I think so, especially for hacking or somebody who hacks in and then they know, when you're not home. Like, remember when Foursquare was sort of at the center of a thing where people were checking into restaurants and stuff, and so these thieves would know when they're not home. They're like, oh, he's gone, so let's go rob him. I mean, then I think that could become sort of the problem here. But again, if it's you get a connected house, let's assume you have a connected security system too, right? Like, do something. They can turn it off. But I'm excited about the connection, the Internet of Things, and doing, like controlling my washer and dryer one day and stuff like that. The thing that I don't like with data mining and stuff is the health information, and I guess my Apple Watch is feeding it back to my app all the time. But at one point, where do we have this line where it's like, oh, you can't get health insurance because you don't walk enough, and we know that, or you don't exercise enough. You clearly have not taken care of yourself, so this is how much your health insurance is going to cost. That kind of stuff worries me. Because if you just kept that private, then nobody would ever know.
That I can see. In general, though, data mining it doesn't. Like as we've talked on this show, I'm a big believer in loyalty programs, and I wrote an article about that not too long ago on my personal blog. And somebody was like, "Oh, but all the data you're giving away, I don't care. So what if I stayed in a Marriott for 8 nights? Good for you.
Now give me my free upgrade.
Give me my upgrades." Yeah, okay, so I've given up some data, but I'm going to go to England again this year for vacation and not pay for 1 night of a hotel, and I'm there for 8 nights.
Yeah, which is awesome. But I mean, I think there's also generational divides here between, like, our parents, my parents are probably slightly younger than your parents, but we have, our parents who, at least mine, would never give that kind of stuff away. Then us, and we're like, well, it's kind of easy. I get the free upgrade, or I'm just going to log in with my Facebook account. I don't care if they get my profile picture. To, say my kids, I don't have kids, but the next generation, where they're just going to be like, well, Dad, I'm just going to log into everything. I don't even, what's privacy? That's kind of the scary thing to me between this, say 60-year break. You have people that really cared about privacy to people that never knew what it was, almost in that form.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't worry about it. I just the way I look at it, if somebody really wants my data, they're going to get it whether or not I've been data mined. I mean, it's just whatever.
I mean, that's the cost of it. They pay. You get convenience in return for your information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And some people don't think it's worth it. Some people do. Some people don't care. Some people do.
Moving on to lighter fare. From Sean the Man 34. Do you guys listen to any other podcasts? I listen to a ton.
I don't listen to any. I listen to what's the one we loved?
Serial.
That was it.
That's really the only other podcast you've listened to?
Yeah, and that was like the first one that I actually like listened to and kept going with.
Oh man, I listened to Smodcasts. How did this get made? Tell 'em Steve Dave. What say you? Occasionally check in with Aisha Taylor's. WTF with Mark Maron. This American Life.
Oh, I take that back. I listen to This American Life here and there. There's something interesting.
Yeah, Views of the News. Yeah, I listen to a ton. I listen to a lot of them when I'm driving. I listen to, well, I will say this, like an hour and a half podcast may take me all day to listen to because I have a dedicated button on my play and stop button on my keyboard. So like when I'm between editing posts, I'll hit play for 2 minutes, while I'm moving stuff around. Okay, now I'm editing, I pause it. Yeah.
Right, so, yeah.
It may take me the entire day, but
I guess sometimes I'll listen to BBC World Service, but that to me was, I used to listen to it on the train, and it was a radio show, so to me, it's technically a podcast now. But I still consider it like internet radio. I don't know.
No, I'm a big lover of podcasts. I haven't had it for ages. I used to have my own personal podcast, which trying to host a podcast by yourself for 30 minutes was never fun. But in general, I'm a big fan of the entire idea of podcasting. So I listen to as many as I can.
Nice.
From Sachin Bahal, what apps do you mostly use on your Android iOS device? What do I use?
I have to open my own screens. Probably Twitter, Gmail, and Feedly.
Yeah, Twitter for sure. Gmail constantly.
Let's go right to my home screen.
Weather.com app.
GroupMe, because I talk with my friends, and the Google Photos app. Those are probably my big. And Spotify. That's right.
Hangouts. I use Hangouts a lot. Skype I use some. That's about it for massive ones. Now, like when I'm traveling, then I use like Flight Track, American Airlines app, TripIt. Yeah, stuff like that. Google Maps. I use Google Maps constantly when I'm traveling.
Oh yeah, true. Google Maps.
Have you tried Waze?
Yes, I use Waze when we're driving to the beach because the traffic is crazy.
I've tried it. I was not a huge fan.
Oh, really? I like it a lot.
I don't know why. I didn't thrill to it for some reason. I think I prefer just having a set path.
Yeah, and it does kind of bother you, like, obstacle ahead, like car on the shoulder. You're like, all right, I get it.
Yeah, and I don't know. Let's see here. We've got a bunch of questions, so let's try to get through. I saw this came in earlier from Brazen Franco when we were discussing, these hackers could release a kit to attack your car, and he said the NSA already has the kit. Oh, the NSA has everything, but not overly concerned about that. Let's see. Oh, from Sean the Man 34, Todd, being you live in NYC, kinda.
Yeah.
Have you considered having no car and just using Uber?
When I did live in New York City, I'm literally just across the river, but I moved out a year and a half ago. I did not have a car. Now I have a car. I still use Uber all the time. I do when I'm in the city, and I also use taxis in the city. It really just depends. And I use Uber here, though. It's cheaper than taxis. I'm in Jersey City to get, if I want to go to the mall or somewhere close by. And I drive if I'm going to the beach or something like that, a longer trip. So I need the car.
You still go to a mall? Do you go there for your morning power walks?
Well, let's see. I went to the mall. I go there like when I need something, like, I'm going on a trip. I need to get some new dress shoes or something like that. Because dress shoes, not easy on Amazon.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm trying to find a new wallet.
And actually, when Joey convinced me to buy a Wii U, which I eventually sold because it was I just didn't play it. I loved it, but I didn't play it enough. I went to the mall and got it there. Sort of like instant satisfaction. If I know it's there, then I'll go get it. So
yeah, living in a small town, though, I order everything.
Well, yeah. How far away is the mall for you?
The closest mall, 90 miles.
Oh, I think ours is 3 minutes in an Uber, so it's like a $4 ride.
Yeah, no, I'm 90 miles from the closest mall. Speaking of online shopping, have you heard about this? And folks, this is not paid. Have you heard about this new site called Jet.com?
No, I haven't.
It's done by the same guy who I think he started like Diapers.com, and which was eventually bought by Amazon. Well, now he's back with a new startup, which it's kind of like a wholesale club, but online.
Huh.
And the more you purchase, the more you save, but he guarantees that everything is priced the same as Amazon, if not lower.
Wow.
And it's $50 a year to belong, but he's already got a ton of coupons out there for like a free 12 months with your first purchase. Free shipping over $35. If you give up the right to free returns, you'll get a bigger discount at checkout.
Wow.
It's kind of interesting.
What kind of stuff? Is it all like groceries and stuff? Like
it's all like household. For now, it's mostly like household goods. Although I haven't dug that deep, but like the explanation video had like televisions as well and
interesting
stuff. So I don't know. It's kind of intriguing. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah. This conversation brought to you by Jet.com.
No, this as of right now, TechnoBuffalo Show is still not taking advertising.
Nope.
From Saha Raja, do you guys root or jailbreak? I do not.
I don't. It's mostly out of a laziness thing. I did when I played with phones like a lot more when I was tweaking stuff. And now we're going through phones. Well, I guess I should say I played with them less because I had more time to do it. Now we're going through phones so frequently. I don't own the phones. A lot of them, so they have to be sent back. So I'm not gonna root or anything. Some of the guys in our office both root and jailbreak the phones they own.
Yeah.
For me, the iPhone, like the most I'll do these days, because I rely on I have two primary phones or SIM cards. One's going through review units, one stays in the iPhone. And for me, it's sort of like a work phone, even though it's not, but it sort of is. So I need it to be at least not messed with, at least buggy as possible, even though I have the beta, the public beta of iOS 9 on it. And I know that rooting and jailbreaking isn't always buggy or anything like that, but just for me, I just don't want to mess with it. Something could go wrong when I'm doing something. You should see me in the kitchen.
Yeah. No, I just, for me, it's a lot of laziness, and also I don't have a whole lot of motivation to.
Yeah. I don't have, it's like, I know that I could do all these things with jailbreaking, with Cydia or whatever it's called. And I did used to jailbreak, like I said, on my iPhones and used to root and stuff. But now I'm just like, I just don't want to do it. I don't really care. I'll just put on a custom launcher and then I'm happy.
From Sachin Bahal, what is your Galaxy Note 5 wish list? Keep an eye on TechnoBuffalo later today.
Yeah.
From Sean the Man 34, has TB considered doing more how-tos, guides, and help posts instead of just news? Yes. That is a frequent discussion. The problem is the amount of news that's done. How-tos and that sort of stuff, they take way longer to write. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of we can get out 3 news posts or we can do a really quick how-to.
Yeah. And the thing is, they could be hit or miss for us. I mean, some people aren't. Sometimes you'll do something like, oh, I was interested. So, I think I did how to install iOS 9. I probably did the beta recently. And sometimes it's people just, you can see there's not a lot of interest in it. So you're like, oh, well, I guess they didn't care about that how-to. So then you got to try to figure out which how-tos do people care about. We had one that the people loved. It was like how to cut your SIM card. And that one did well, and the other ones don't. So it's always sort of a time balance thing, too. Like, is it worth the investment of time to do something?
I forgot to bring. I haven't mentioned this to anyone. So my parents are finally switching from Sprint to T-Mobile, and they joined my account since I already had one. So when I went to get their SIM cards, and it's been a long time since I went to get a SIM card. Did you know they're now coming with all 3 sizes?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it's a pop out, and then you just keep the excess part around. So in case you switch to a phone that uses a bigger one. But you've got all 3 sizes of SIM card in one SIM card.
And so you can go larger?
You can go larger by what you do is you go ahead and you place it back in the frame. Because I accidentally popped the nano out of when I needed a micro. I was like, oh boy, I hope this works. And all I did was when I got the SIM tray out, I put the micro size in, and then I dropped the nano in the punch out hole and slid it into the phone, and it worked fine.
Wow. Yeah, because I bought the adapters before, and these days, I mean, the only phones that really use micro as opposed to nano, usually it's a slide in, and you can usually slide in the nano just right and get it to work. But
well, this at least you get to keep a guide essentially.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was really a great idea. I don't know why someone didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, I don't get SIM cards anymore. I just have my 2 personal ones.
Right, exactly. We'll be wrapping up here in a second. From Brazen Franco, worldwide or states only for jet.com? I actually don't know. You would have to just go there and check. My guess would be states only, but I don't know. I discovered it yesterday afternoon. Actually, Roy Choi messaged me about it. I guess it's only been open like this week.
Interesting. So it's really new.
It's really new. From Sean the Man 34, Todd, what are your thoughts on Beamy 1 week later?
Oh, I haven't used it. We were using it back and forth, actually, trying to figure out how to get it going, Sean and I. I haven't used it since, but maybe I should load it up. I don't know. It was a pretty cool app. I don't know if people use it, but it's a new social network, and you kind of, instead of taking a picture and sort of blocking, your view, the idea is that you just sort of hold it to your chest. It does the short video clip, beeps when it's done, and then posts it. The thing I didn't like about this, though, is that I couldn't see my own clips until somebody else saw them. I don't know. It was kind of their reactions.
Weird.
Yeah.
And this will be the last question of the day, from Sachin Bahal. Have any of you guys signed up for Google Project Fi, and have you gotten an invite? I think all of us have signed up for Project Fi.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of us have gotten invites yet.
I think the office did, because they have a setup out there, but we don't have it. You and I.
No, we're left out in the cold.
Yeah,
it's so cold.
That's all right. It's better for us. We don't need another plan.
Exactly. Tell me about it, man. Going into the T-Mobile store to set up my folks' 2 lines. I was just like, I don't want to be in here. Just give me the SIM cards and let me leave.
Yeah.
But well, that is going to bring this week's episode to a close. As always, we appreciate you joining us. Sachin Bahal just said jet.com is states only. I would know because I'm in Canada, and every time I visit, it says it looks like you are in Canada. Jet.com is US only. Thank you, Sachin. I'm sure it'll expand. I mean, Amazon wasn't international when it first opened. But anyway, we thank you all for joining us. As always, you can find us on the iTunes store by searching for the TechnoBuffalo Show. And we do appreciate if you rate and review us. That does help the show out. You can also find us on Pocket Casts. You can subscribe via RSS feed. You can find us on the Stitcher app, which means you can listen to us anytime, anywhere. Basically, anywhere there are podcasts, you can find the TechnoBuffalo Show. Until next week, I'm Sean Ani. I'm the editor-in-chief of the site, and I've been joined by Deputy Managing Editor Todd Hazelton.
Bye, everybody.
Till next time, take it easy, everyone. Bye-bye.